Hey, today I want to show you how I do brisket, but this is different than the brisket videos I have out there. What we're doing today is kind of if I want to cook a brisket and eat it at home. You know, a lot of times when we're cooking these competition briskets and other meats, we're trimming every little bit of fat off of them. We're thinking about the final appearance of the meat before we ever cook it. Well, at home, we throw all that out the window because I just want it to be good. I'm not over enhancing it. You know, we'll use a lot of injections and different things on a brisket that we're turning for competition because it's a one bite piece of meat. And that judge is only going to take one bite of it and they've got to determine if that's the best brisket they've had right there. Well, you couldn't sit down and eat a meal off that brisket. I want to show you how to cook a brisket that you could serve or you could give as a holiday gift. That's what I'm doing today. I'm cooking a bunch of them and I'm sharing some of my barbecue love with some friends and family. But this brisket, once you get it done, you can slice it up and you can sit down and have a meal with it, and it's going to be really good. I keep it pretty simple, but I still use some good seasonings on it. And on brisket, the first thing I like to do is give it a good base layer of a good salt and pepper, kind of garlic seasoning. And that's what I have here. This is a Butcher's Barbecue steak and brisket rub. And it's got a lot, you know, a good bit of salt in it and some garlic powder, some lemon pepper. And it's just going to be a good base layer for my brisket. And I just want to get a good coat on it. I didn't trim anything because I want the fat to give it flavor. On a brisket I'm cooking at home. If it was a competition, I would take the time and I'd cut a lot of this fat off and get it down to the meat because I'm trying to get it done kind of in a hurry, but I don't want the judge to get any fat. Well, this one, fat is flavor. So if you're eating a brisket, it's okay to leave that fat on it because it's gonna render down some when it cooks, but it's also gonna give it some great flavor. And you don't care when you're carving it up to serve if you've got to scrape a little fat to the side. You wouldn't want to give a judge that, but if we're eating it at home, man, that's just more goodness. So the next layer, I'm going to come with the Killer Hogs rub. And this is where I'm getting my spices from. It's got some chili powder in it, some ancho pepper. It's got some paprika in it, some cumin, some really good flavors that's going to go with beef. And I mean, it's good on pork. You know, that's our number one thing, but it's also great on beef. And another thing you'll notice, I'm starting with the top side up. If this was a competition brisket, I would have started with the fat and I would have cooked it fat down the whole time. But being that I'm really wanting to concentrate the flavor and I'm not going to inject, I want the fat to melt down through this brisket. So I'm cooking fat up the whole time on a brisket that I'm going to eat at home. The last layer of flavor that I'm going to put on this brisket is Montreal steak seasoning. And what it is, it's a kind of a, McCormick makes it, and it's a coarser grind. You can kind of, I don't know if you can see on the video, but there's coarser grind peppers and salts and different flavors and different herbs in there. And it gives it that last little, and I don't go heavy on this one, just the last little texture. But just give it a pat down, then we're gonna flip it over and we're gonna get the other side. And we're gonna do the same thing. Base coat with the saltier rub. Now we come back with the barbecue rub, good layer. Now we got a brisket that's ready to go to the smoker. And we're gonna get some really good flavors develop on the outside of this brisket with all these different combinations of rubs that we're using. I didn't inject it, didn't put anything on the inside because I really want this to be real beefy tasting. I'm not gonna enhance it with anything, not using any phosphates or any other injection in the inside of it. I want it to be beef. And we're gonna get all our flavor from our smoke and from our seasonings on the outside, and that's going to make a brisket that you can sit down and make a meal off of. Okay, we're out here at the cooker today. I'm cooking on my Old Hickory CTO, and I've got some pecan wood in there to give it some really good smoke. That's what I like to use on brisket. Put a couple pieces of cherry in there too, because cherry really helps drive that bark color, give it a little bit of that smoke ring look. Cherry helps you with that. It's mild, but it still gives some great color to it. You can see I got a few on there that I'm cooking 6 whole briskets today. Gonna get this rocking and rolling. We're gonna check on, I'll show you when I wrap it just in a few minutes. I'm cooking at about 250 degrees. That's where I like to cook briskets at. Fat up the whole time. I'm gonna come back and show you here in 4 or 5 hours when it's time to wrap, because I don't really wrap to temperature, I'm wrapping to color. When they get just the right color on the outside, that's when you want to wrap them up. Then we're gonna break them down. Okay, it's been about 4.5 hours and the brisket's got all the color I want. This is what I want to see, no matter if I'm cooking competition, if I'm cooking it at home. I want it to get that mahogany color. I don't want it to get too dark. You know, it should just have that mahogany look to it. You can start seeing some places where there's getting some dark spots, but that's okay. This is exactly where we wanted it. If you had to check the temp, I guarantee you it's going to be between 155 and 165 right now. But this is where I always take them off. We're going to go inside and I'm going to show you how I wrap it up. Some people leave them in the pan the whole time, cover it up, put some liquid in there. Some people wrap it in butcher paper, but I like to wrap it in full. I'll show you that in just a second. Okay, I got the brisket inside. Now I'm going to show you how I wrap it up. What I do is I take 3 layers of foil and I'll probably pull off a good 36 inches each strip, and I just kind of cross them here on the table. And now, if you don't want to wrap in foil, you want to wrap in butcher paper, or if you want to leave it in the pan, whatever you want to do is fine. This is how I've always done brisket. In competitions, you know, I might add a little bit of the injection back alongside of it, but this one has plenty of fat still on it. It's going to cook out some nice juice for me. And I just keep it nice and tight, come up around it, fat still up, just like I took it off the grill. That's the way it's going back on. We're going to get it back out there on the cooker. We're still at 250 degrees. We don't have to worry about smoke anymore. We've got all the smoke we need. Now it's wrapped. We just got to get it done. I'm going to hold it at a steady temperature, and I'll start checking it here in about 3 hours, seeing what my internal is. I like to go in the thickest part of the flat. I like to take it to about 198 degrees. I'm going right back in the same spot. It's been about 8.5 hours. These briskets are dead. So I'm take them off and let them rest just a little bit before I package them up. Okay, I'm back inside after I've let the brisket rest. Now, let me walk you back through what we've done. We've seasoned the outside of the brisket with 3-layer seasoning, and then I got it on my cooker out there at 250 degrees with some good light smoke, with some pecan and a little bit of cherry. It doesn't matter what kind of cooker you're cooking on, as long as you can hold your temp steady. That's the main thing when you're cooking any kind of meat. And on this brisket, you need it to be about 250 degrees. Halfway through the process, it was about the 4.5 hour mark, I had all the color I wanted on the outside. So I took the brisket off and I wrapped it up. I had the foil staggered out, put a good 3 layers on it so nothing would leak out, eased it back on my grate, and then I just let it roll until I got my internal temperature where I want it, and it was at the 8.5 hour mark. Okay, the internal temp on this brisket we were shooting for was 198, right around the center of this flat. That's where I like to stick it. You don't want to go too deep. You want to get in the center of the meat, and that's where you're looking for. When you're taking a temp on a brisket, it should slide in like a knife going through warm butter. If you're feeling any resistance, it's not where you want it. It's really all about feel and about getting to that temperature close to 200 degrees. This one stayed fat up the whole time. It's got great color on it. I'm going to move it over to this platter so you can see what it looks like. Don't get rid of those juices that collected in your foil, because that's some good stuff to dredge back through. You can run it through a fat separator, get all the fat off the top, and then use that to go back with your brisket. Now this one, after it's rested about 30 minutes, it's ready to slice and eat. I'm cooking this as a gift for someone for Christmas next week. So I'm gonna let it cool a little bit more in the refrigerator, then I'm gonna vacuum seal it up, give it to them and let them slice it however they want to. But it's the perfect size to fit in an 11-inch roll on a food saver bag. So I want it to cool good. I'm gonna save my juice and take the fat off, get this in the bag, and then pour the juice back in and seal it up. Then I can freeze it and take it to them, and they can keep it in their freezer, or they can thaw it out and serve it for New Year's or Christmas dinner, whatever they want to do. But this is how I do a brisket to eat. It's different than a competition brisket. It's not as pretty, but I promise you, it tastes really, really good cooked like this. It's simple. The beef shines through, get some good seasons on the outside. If you like what we're doing here at How to Barbecue Right, subscribe to our newsletter and like our YouTube channel here. Also, hit me up on Facebook and Twitter. I'd love the comments, and I'll try to get back to everybody. So keep checking us out. We'll keep sending out good videos.